The text message glowed on his screen at 11:47 p.m. All I want for Christmas is someone who sees me as more than just the boss. Someone who holds me when the office is empty and everyone's gone home. James Parker stared at his phone, heart hammering against his ribs. The message was clearly meant for someone else, not for him, her employee and the company's quiet single father who worked in accounting. But as he read it again, something shifted inside him. He'd always seen something in Claire Bennett that perhaps no one else had noticed. If you're enjoying this story of unexpected connection and second chances, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content that reminds us all that love can find us in the most unexpected places. Claire Bennett prided herself on efficiency. As CEO of Bennett Digital Marketing, she ran her company with precision, compassion, and unwavering focus. At 36, she had built her empire from scratch, turning a small startup into a thriving business with over 50 employees. Her office, with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Chicago, was her sanctuary, the place where she felt most in control. But tonight, as snow fell softly outside those impressive windows, Claire felt anything but in control. The office Christmas party had ended hours ago. The cleaning crew had come and gone. Now, alone in her office at nearly midnight, she nursed a glass of wine and scrolled through her phone, the weight of another holiday season spent alone settling heavily on her shoulders. Her sister's text from earlier still burned in her mind. What do you want for Christmas this year, workaholic? And don't say nothing again. Claire had typed out her real answer, her vulnerable, honest wish, and then deleted it immediately. Or so she thought. Her thumb must have hit send instead of delete. And worse, she'd accidentally selected the wrong contact. James Parker. The quiet, competent accountant who'd joined her company 18 months ago. The single father whose dedication to both his work and his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, had caught Claire's attention more than once. Oh God, Claire whispered, staring at her phone in horror. She quickly typed another message. I am so sorry, James. That was meant for my sister. Please ignore. But the damage was done. The 3 dots appeared, showing he was typing a response. Across town, in a modest 2-bedroom apartment decorated with a small Christmas tree and paper snowflakes, James Parker sat on his couch, stunned by the message from his boss. His daughter Lily was asleep down the hall, her room filled with stuffed animals and books, the nightlight casting star patterns on her ceiling. At 38, James had rebuilt his life after his wife Emma's death 3 years ago. He'd moved to Chicago for a fresh start, found a good job at Bennett Digital, and created a stable home for Lily. Dating hadn't been a priority, until recently, when he'd found himself looking forward to seeing Claire Bennett each day at work. He'd noticed things about her that perhaps others missed. How she remembered everyone's birthdays. How she stayed late to help the cleaning staff when they were short-handed. How her professional smile sometimes slipped when she thought no one was watching, revealing a flash of loneliness that mirrored his own. And now, this message, clearly not meant for him, had opened a door he'd never expected. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. The proper response would be to acknowledge her apology and never mention it again. But something made him type, Claire, I see you as much more than the boss. I always have. He hit send before he could second-guess himself. Claire nearly dropped her phone when James's response came through. She read it once, twice, 3 times, her heart racing. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to be the composed, professional CEO who never showed vulnerability, especially not to her employees. But James's words stirred something in her that had been dormant for too long. She took a deep breath and typed, I don't know what to say. His response came quickly, you don't have to say anything. But I'm still at the office too. 4th floor, finishing the year-end reports. If you want to talk. Claire stood up so quickly she knocked over her empty wineglass. He was still here. In the building? She glanced at her reflection in the window, her carefully styled hair had come loose, her makeup had faded, and she'd changed from her party dress into the yoga pants and sweater she kept in her office for late nights. "This is crazy," she muttered to herself. But she was already walking toward the elevator. James hadn't expected Claire to actually come down to the 4th floor. He'd been working late, not wanting to bring work home when he could be spending time with Lily. His babysitter, Mrs. Rodriguez from next door, had agreed to stay overnight since the snow was getting worse. He'd just finished the last spreadsheet when he heard the elevator ding. His heart jumped to his throat as Claire stepped out, looking softer and more approachable than he'd ever seen her at work in her casual clothes, her professional armor temporarily set aside. "Hi," she said, stopping at the entrance to the accounting department. "Hi," he replied, standing up from his desk. "I didn't think you'd actually come down." "I didn't think I would either." She took a few steps closer. "About that message." "You don't have to explain," James said quickly. "We all send texts to the wrong people sometimes. But not usually texts that reveal quite so much." Claire's cheeks flushed. "It's embarrassing." "It's human," James corrected gently. "And if it helps, I've thought about sending similar messages. I just never had the courage." Claire's eyes widened. "You have?" James nodded, taking a step toward her. "Being a single parent means putting yourself last. For 3 years, I've focused on Lily, on making sure she feels secure and loved. But lately..." He paused, gathering his courage. "Lately I've started to wonder what it would be like to have someone in my life again. Someone who understands what it means to carry responsibilities. Someone like you." The office was quiet except for the soft hum of the heating system and the distant sound of traffic below. Snow continued to fall outside the windows, creating a cocoon of white around the building. "I'm your boss, James," Claire said softly, but she didn't step away. "I know. And I respect you enormously in that role. But I also see the woman who brings coffee to the security guards on cold mornings. Who remembers that Lily is allergic to strawberries and makes sure there are alternatives at company picnics. Who works harder than anyone but still makes time to mentor the interns." Claire felt tears prick at her eyes. "I didn't think anyone noticed those things." "I notice everything about you," James said simply. The next morning, Lily Parker woke up excited. Christmas was only 2 weeks away, and today was Saturday, Pancake Day. She bounced out of bed in her unicorn pajamas and padded down the hall to her dad's room, ready to jump on his bed as was their weekend tradition. But she stopped short in the doorway. Her dad was already awake, sitting on the edge of his bed, talking on the phone. And he was smiling in a way Lily hadn't seen in a very long time. "Yes, I understand it's complicated," he was saying. "But I think it's worth exploring." "No, Lily's still asleep." "Yes, I'd love that." "Brunch tomorrow?" "Perfect." When he hung up, Lily announced her presence. "Who was that, Daddy?" James looked up, his smile growing even wider when he saw his daughter. "Good morning, Pumpkin." "That was a friend from work." "A girlfriend?" Lily asked with the directness only children can manage. James laughed. "No, not a girlfriend. Just someone I like talking to." Lily climbed onto the bed beside him. "Is she pretty?" James hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, she's very pretty. And smart, and kind. Like Mommy was?" James felt the familiar pang whenever Emma was mentioned, but it was softer now, more bittersweet than painful. Different from Mommy, but special in her own way. Lily considered this, her small face serious. "Can I meet her?" "Maybe someday, if things work out." "Would you like that?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. "I asked Santa for a mom for Christmas." James felt his heart constrict. "Oh, Lily, you know Santa can't always bring exactly what we ask for." "I know," Lily said pragmatically. "But he can try." And maybe your friend could be like a mom someday. James hugged his daughter close, marveling at her resilience and hope. Maybe, pumpkin. But for now, how about those pancakes? Claire spent Saturday in a state of nervous anticipation. After their conversation at the office, which had lasted until nearly 2 a.m., she and James had exchanged phone numbers, personal ones, not work contacts. They'd talked about boundaries and complications, about the company's policies on workplace relationships, which, as CEO, Claire had helped craft, and about the need for discretion. But they'd also talked about themselves. About James's late wife and his journey as a single father. About Claire's drive to succeed in a male-dominated industry and how that had often left little room for personal relationships. About favorite books and movies and places they'd traveled. It had been the most honest conversation Claire had had in years. Now, as she tried on the 5th outfit for their brunch date tomorrow, her phone rang. It was her sister, Megan. "So, did you ever answer my question?" Megan asked without preamble. "What do you want for Christmas?" Claire sat down on her bed, surrounded by discarded clothes. "Actually, I think I might have found it already." "What?" Claire Bennett actually wants something other than a new laptop or business books. "I'm shocked." Claire laughed. "I may have accidentally sent a very personal text to someone at work." "Oh my God," Megan gasped. "Please tell me it wasn't a sext." "No. Nothing like that. Just, my real Christmas wish. About wanting someone who sees me as more than just the boss." "And? What happened? Were you mortified? Did you have to fire yourself?" Claire smiled, remembering the way James had looked at her in the quiet office, snow falling outside. "Actually, it might have been the best mistake I've ever made." Sunday brunch was at a small cafe far from the office, where they were unlikely to run into any employees. Claire arrived first, securing a corner table and ordering coffee to calm her nerves. When James walked in, she was struck again by how different he looked outside of work. At the office, he was always in pressed shirts and ties, his dark hair neatly combed. Today, he wore jeans and a blue sweater that brought out his eyes, his hair slightly tousled from the wind. "Hi," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. "Sorry if I'm a little late. Lily was giving me fashion advice." Claire laughed. "And what did she recommend?" "This sweater, actually. She says blue is a happy color and that I should look happy today." He smiled sheepishly. "Kids have no filter." "She sounds wonderful," Claire said sincerely. "You've done an amazing job with her, from everything I've seen and heard." James's expression softened. "Thank you. That means a lot. She's the center of my world." "As she should be," Claire said. "And that's something we need to talk about. James, I like you, more than I probably should admit after just one real conversation. But your daughter has to come first, and my company is like my child too. We need to be careful here." James nodded, appreciating her directness. "I agree completely. Lily's well-being is non-negotiable. And I respect your position too much to ever want to complicate it." "So where does that leave us?" Claire asked. James reached across the table and took her hand. "It leaves us here, having brunch, getting to know each other better. Taking things one day at a time. And being honest about what we want." Claire felt a warmth spread through her that had nothing to do with the coffee. "And what do you want, James?" He looked at her intently, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Tell me your real wish, Claire. Not the one you accidentally texted. Your real wish for Christmas, for the new year, for your life." The weeks leading up to Christmas passed in a blur for both Claire and James. At work, they maintained their professional relationship, though Claire caught herself looking forward to budget meetings in a way she never had before. Outside of work, they carved out time to see each other, coffee before heading to the office, the occasional dinner after James had put Lily to bed and Mrs. Rodriguez could babysit. They were careful, considerate of both their positions and of Lily's feelings. James hadn't introduced them yet, wanting to be sure of where things were heading before bringing someone new into his daughter's life. But as Christmas approached, it became harder to keep these parts of his life separate. Especially when Lily kept asking about Daddy's friend, and whether she would be alone for Christmas. No one should be alone on Christmas, Lily declared one evening as she helped James decorate their small tree. It's the saddest thing ever. James handed her another ornament. Some people like being alone, pumpkin. Or they have other family to spend it with. Does your friend have family? James thought about what Claire had told him. Her parents had retired to Florida, and her sister lived in California with her husband and kids. She'd planned to fly out to join them after Christmas. She has family, but they live far away. Lily placed the ornament carefully on a branch, her small face serious. Then she should come here. We have extra cookies. James smiled at his daughter's simple solution. It's not that easy, Lily. Why not? Don't you like her? I like her very much. And doesn't she like you? I think she does. Then it's easy, Lily said with the confidence of a 7-year-old. Call her and say, please come for Christmas, we have cookies and presents and no one should be alone. James laughed and ruffled her hair. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart, Daddy. You just didn't notice because you were too sad. James felt his heart catch. Was I very sad before? Lily nodded solemnly. After Mommy went to heaven. But you're not so sad anymore. Especially when you talk to your friend. Out of the mouths of babes, James thought. You're right. I am happier lately. So call her, Lily insisted. Right now. And somehow, James found himself reaching for his phone. Claire was in the middle of wrapping presents for her staff, small, thoughtful gifts she'd selected for each person, when her phone rang. Seeing James's name on the screen made her smile automatically. Hello? Hi, James said, and she could hear the smile in his voice too. I have someone here who would like to ask you something. Before Claire could respond, a small voice came on the line. Hello? Is this Daddy's friend? Claire's heart melted. Yes, this is Claire. You must be Lily. I wanted to ask if you would come to our house for Christmas. No one should be alone, and we have cookies and presents, and Daddy smiles a lot when he talks to you. Claire had to blink back sudden tears. That's a very kind invitation, Lily. So will you come? Please. Daddy makes really good turkey, and I'm going to help with the mashed potatoes. Claire looked around her elegant but empty apartment, at the small designer tree in the corner with its coordinated ornaments, at the presents she'd be delivering to an empty office on Christmas Eve before flying out to her sister's the day after Christmas. I would love to come, she heard herself say. If your daddy is okay with it. James came back on the line. I'm more than okay with it. In fact, it was going to be my Christmas wish. Christmas Day dawned bright and clear, the recent snow sparkling in the morning sunlight. Claire stood outside James and Lily's apartment building, a bag of gifts in one hand and a bouquet of flowers in the other, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This was a big step, meeting Lily officially, spending Christmas with them, crossing the line from casual dating to something that felt much more significant. Before she could ring the buzzer, the door opened, and there stood James, wearing a ridiculous Christmas sweater with a reindeer whose nose actually lit up. Lily's choice, he said by way of explanation, gesturing to his sweater. She has one that matches. It's adorable, Claire said, meaning it. I feel underdressed now. Don't worry, we have one for you too. James leaned down and kissed her cheek. Merry Christmas, Claire. Merry Christmas, James.